In the history of the Bible, there is a man who never knew what it was to die. Not Elijah, who went up in a fiery chariot, but someone older, stranger, and scarier from what he saw. A man named Enoch walked with God for 365 years until one day he was gone because God took him. But the Bible only briefly talks about him, but it hides a truth so shocking that early church leaders argued about whether his work should be burned and forgotten forever. Enoch saw something so horrifying and out of this world happened that only bits and pieces of his story have been found, buried in caves and sands in the desert, translated and retranslated over and over again until the original horror was lost in religious mythology. Tonight you'll learn what Enoch really saw, and why the guardians of sacred information decided that people weren't ready for the truth. The book they tried to delete. For more than 1,000 years, people only talked about and condemned the Book of Enoch. It was called heretical by church meetings. Rabbis wouldn't add it to the holy books. It was taken down from temples and churches all over the world, but the Ethiopian Orthodox Church kept copies safe in mountain monasteries that the inquisitors couldn't get to as holy texts. When European experts finally got translations of it in the 18th century, they knew right away why it had been kept secret. The book didn't talk about a faraway, unknowable God who runs the world from heaven. It talked about something much scarier. Angels who quit their jobs, came down to earth, and ruined people so badly that God had to flood the world to destroy society. But that is the clean version. According to the text, these watchers are teaching people forbidden things like how to make weapons of war, cosmetics and seduction tools, astrology and fortune-telling, herbs that cause abortion, and most terrifying of all, how to change reality itself using sacred names and binding spells. Enoch saw the exact moment in history when everything went horribly wrong. What the prophet Enoch saw in the sky. The text says that Enoch was more than just a good person who pleased God. He was picked to do a certain job, to tell the fallen watchers about God's punishment and to write down everything that happened so that future generations could understand. But in order to do this, Enoch had to be taken into the heavenly realms while he was still living, which is not a normal place for humans to live. The book goes into terrifying depth about his journey. He went through 7 worlds, and each one was stranger than the last. In the first heaven, he saw the places where snow and hail are stored, and where storms are kept until God lets them loose. In the second, he saw angels in chains waiting for the final judgment. These beings were so powerful that Enoch's human body could not control its shaking. But the third heaven broke him. Here, Enoch saw the Garden of Eden and the Tree of Life, which were still there but out of reach for people. He saw the place that had been prepared for the good dead, and even scarier, the place that had been prepared for the bad dead. It was a place of fire and darkness where souls would live forever with the consequences of their choices. Enoch stood in front of God's throne in the 7th sky. Words can't fully describe it. A being so radiantly beautiful that Enoch's body started to change just by being close to it. The Bible says that he was clothed in garments of glory and sprinkled with oil, which made him like one of the glorious ones. In other words, Enoch went from being human to being angelic so that the presence of God could not destroy him. The secret things the watchers taught. The most disputed parts of Enoch's book are the ones that talk about what the fallen angels taught people. This isn't a figure of speech. The book names certain angels and describes the bad things they do to corrupt human society. The boss, Azazel, taught the men how to make weapons like swords, knives, shields, and breastplates. He taught women how to use makeup and jewelry, which the text says are tricks and seduction tools. Shemyaza taught enchantments and root cutting, which is the use of poisons and chemicals from plants to change people's minds. Armaros taught people how to break curses. Barakel was an astrologer. Kokabiel taught them about the stars. These weren't nice gifts of information. There was a flaw in every theory. Technology used in war led to endless killing. With cosmetics, people became vain and lied. Astrology made people believe in fate and worship the stars instead of God. The Watchers weren't teaching us. They were using what we knew as weapons to kill us. The Nephilim are giants that were born from evil. It wasn't the worst part that they taught bad information. They didn't just teach people, though. The Watchers also bred with human women, making Nephilim, a kind of mixed child. The Book of Enoch goes into horrible detail about these beings. They were 300 cubits, which is about 450 feet, and they ate everything in their way. When they ran out of other food sources, they turned to eating people and drinking blood. These were not monsters from mythology. Enoch says they are a spiritual and physical disaster. They messed up the natural order so badly that everything in the world shook when they were there. The answer God gave was clear and scary. He told the archangel Michael to lock up the Watchers who had died in the earth's valleys until the day of judgment. He told Gabriel to kill all of the Nephilim by turning them against each other and killing each other. He also told the flood to wash away the evil that had spread to all living things on earth. Why the church buried it? The Book of Enoch was seen as holy by early Christians like Tertullian and Origen. They used a lot of quotes from it in their work. But by the 4th century, when Christianity was well established and politically strong, church councils started to turn down Enochian writing. Why? The book made me think about some tough things. What did it mean that angels could fall and rebel? Why did God let people learn things that were against the law? The most unsettling thing about the Book of Enoch was that it said evil wasn't just bad decisions made by people. It was built into reality itself by rebellious angels. The change Enoch transformed into. There is something in the text that neither science nor religion can explain. Enoch's body changed. After his trips through the skies, his time with God, and being given the name Metatron, which means one who stands before the throne, Enoch stopped being completely human. Later Jewish mysticism says that Metatron is the greatest angel and that his body covers the whole universe. He is the one who keeps track of everything that happens in the universe. Some rabbis said that Enoch Metatron had 365,000 eyes, one for every day that he walked with God on earth, and that his body turned into fire. The rabbis were most afraid of this. The text suggested that people could become divine, that the line between God and creation wasn't set in stone, and that it was possible to transform into something angelic or greater. Tomorrow we'll talk about what Enoch saw about the future and why his last predictions are coming true now.
The old monk's hands shook as he turned the fragile pages of the Enochian text that had been hidden in his monastery in Ethiopia for more than 1,000 years. He turned the Gez writing into modern English, and his face turned pale. The promise he was reading wasn't about a long time ago. It was about things that are happening now, in our time. It was 3 years before he told anyone what he had found. He closed the book and put it away. What was it that he read that scared him so much? What did Enoch see about the end of the world that is more important now than it ever was? The return of knowledge that was banned. In his forecast, Enoch talks about a certain sign that would identify the last generation, the return of the knowledge that the Watchers taught in the beginning. Not in a figurative way, truly. He talks about a time when people would find weapons of mass destruction that could end all life, when it would become normal to change people's looks and identities, when the secrets of the stars and how to change matter itself would be revealed. Take a look. We have split the atom and made bombs that can quickly wipe out all life on Earth. We're good at DNA engineering now, which means we can change the basic code of life. We've created digital filters and plastic surgery that can completely change the way someone looks. We now have a picture of the universe and can start to change matter at the quantum level. In the last 100 years, every type of forbidden information that the Watchers taught has been found again. Enoch warned that this would mean the end of the world was near. The sign that Metatron will come back. The most shocking part of Enochian writing is about his own return. After he changed into Metatron, Enoch made a prediction that in the last days, the knowledge he gained in the heavenly realms would be unlocked and given to a generation that badly needed it. The Western world did not find the Book of Enoch for almost 2,000 years. Then, in 1947, the same year that Israel became a country again, completing many Bible prophecies, full copies of Enochian texts were found among the Dead Sea Scrolls. A random event? Enoch said that his words would come back to life just when people needed to know what was going to happen. The text talks about the last generation, which will have the most information and the most danger. That generation would have the power to either kill itself or grow into something better. These are our years. The last word of the Watchers. Enoch tells us in great detail what will happen to the Watchers who are locked up. For a very long time, they have been stuck in the valleys of the earth, awake and aware and waiting. The text says that they will be freed for a short time before the final sentence and given one last chance to corrupt people. A lot of experts think that this leak has already happened or is happening right now. The huge growth in secret knowledge and the normalization of practices that people in the past thought were evil, and the fixation on communication with intelligent beings that are not human, are all signs of the original corruption that the Watchers brought. Enoch saw that the last generation would have to decide whether to follow God's order or follow the Watchers' chaos. There wouldn't be a peaceful center or middle ground. It would be clear and sure that those who choose light are different from those who choose darkness. But the changes that happen to the good. But Enoch's message isn't all bad news and warnings. He talks about a strange thing that will happen to those who stay true during the last tribulation. He predicted that the good would change into angels in the same way that he changed from a human into Metatron. It says, "The righteous will shine like the sun and the stars forever." This is not a figure of speech. The Book of Enoch talks about a real physical and spiritual change that happens when human flesh is turned into something that can live in the presence of divine glory without being eaten. He saw that those who make it to the end would be given the same garments of glory that he had gotten. This means that they would have their whole selves restructured so that they could live forever in the heavenly realms. Death would not be able to hurt them. It would not be possible to get sick. In a way, they would become what people were always meant to be before the fall. The Son of Man sitting on the throne. The most detailed thing Enoch says about a person is that person is the Son of Man, the Chosen One, and the Righteous One. He talks about this being sitting on the throne of glory and ruling everything, including angels and people. Every lie will come out. Everything that is hidden will be shown. It will be time for the watchers to answer for their revolt. People will have to answer for the decisions they make. But this forecast is interesting because the Son of Man was chosen before the world was made and hidden in the presence of God until the right time, according to Enoch. This person isn't just a prophet or a powerful angel. Enoch talks about someone who has divine power to decide everything in the world. Christians think this person is Jesus, but Enoch's account came hundreds of years before Christianity. That man who walked with God knew the end from the beginning. He saw the judge who would sit on the throne and wrote about it so that future generations would have a chance to understand what's going to happen. The last word of caution. The last things that Enoch wrote down are both a warning and a promise. He says that the people who see these signs will be persecuted in a way that has never been seen in history. People who don't give in to the evil that is coming back will be pushed to the edges, hunted down, and killed. The world system will require complete loyalty, and there will be no way to be neutral. He does say, however, that those who stay will see all of God's promises come true. When that happens, they will see Eden fully restored, all evil bound, and eternal justice set up. Their bodies will change into beings of light, and they will rule forever with the Son of Man. The scroll of Enoch wasn't hidden because it wasn't real. People didn't want to know the truth, so it was kept secret. The seals are now coming apart. The information is coming back. And the choice Enoch told us about is now in front of us. Which side are you going to pick?